Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be working on planting up the containers on the back patio. I have 4 large cedar containers back here. Each has a boxwood in it, and each summer I love to plant them up with some bold combination of annuals. Generally over the past several years I've used a variety of different Supertunias, primarily Bordeaux and Blue Vein. Blue Vein is kind of a trailing Supertunia by proven winners. It would end up touching the ground inevitably without even fertilizing or anything. And I always loved that combination. Last year I tried something a little bit different with some Bidens and pink cashmere, and that was okay, but I think this year I was really craving the Bordeaux again. So I stocked up on the plants I'm going to be putting in these a couple weeks ago, and I've been excited to put them in, but I was waiting for the pansies to kind of peter out because it's hard for me to take those out when they look still so pretty. I put the pansies in last fall and they overwintered wonderfully. They came back in beautiful bloom this spring, and I've really enjoyed having them. But now for a couple reasons, it's time to take them out. One, they do look very tired and not pretty anymore. 2, I do need to shear the boxwoods just a little bit. I'm not going to do too much because I don't want to really expose the spider mite damage that was there last year. So I just want to give those a little bit of a haircut. And then also the Supertunias are all kind of getting intertwined with each other. And so they need to be actually in the containers so they can just do their thing and not get kind of stuck together in their nursery cans. So let me just show you really quick the 3 that we're going to be using. It's just the same as what we used on the front porch, hanging baskets, if you watched that video. Just turn you around and I'll show you the plants. So here's the combination. We're going to use the Supertunia MiniVista Plumveined, which is new for this year. We're going to use the Supertunia Bordeaux, which is unfortunately not in bloom, but it's all budded up and it's about to be beautiful. And then the Supertunia MiniVista White. So I have this MiniVista White in the containers on the front and then also in the ground. I don't have the Mini Plumveined in the ground at all, but I do have it in the containers as well up on the front porch, and the Bordeaux also in those containers. So some repeats of the plants that I'm using just because I know that they perform really well. Here's the tag so you can see what Bordeaux looks like. Very similar idea as the MiniVista Plumveined, but obviously in purple. And then because this is not a MiniVista, they'll have similar habits of growth, but the actual bloom rather, should be larger than the MiniVista. I find that that's kind of the difference as far as that goes, but their size, as you can see, 6 to 12, 4 to 12. So this one, like it says, may stay a little bit shorter, but in these containers, they all just basically spill out the sides. So there's one of them, the other one, and then there's 2 over on this side. Now these are Franklin Gem boxwoods. They have a smaller leaf than a lot of the common, like the little miniature dwarf ones, and also very popular winter gem, and also Green Mountain. These ones are a lot smaller. They do not bronze out in the winter, which is one of the reasons that I picked them. And I also liked the color. It's kind of more of an olivey green. Right now the new growth looks very vibrant, but it kind of tones out to a little bit of a olive green, and I really like that. So these I need to prune just a little bit. Like I said, if you look in deep, you can see some of the spider mite damage from last year, and I don't really want to expose that. So I'm just going to give them a light shear. You can also see that they have a little bit more of an oval shape rather than a, perfect ball shape. So that is kind of unfortunate. That's not something that I knew or realized, I guess, when I went with these ones, but I'm living with it. When you compare them to these, this is the green velvet. You can see how nicely that grows just naturally into a ball. I do shear them to keep them nice and tight, but pretty much equal height as it is width. Now these ones are a little bit wider than they all are tall, but again, that's okay. Last year, these had settled down in the containers quite a bit. And so last year, we actually hoisted them up, put in some new soil on the bottom, and raise them up so they're nice and high. I don't think I'll really have to do much with the soil this year. I should be able just to take these violas out and the pansies out really easily. I think they're actually all violas. Yeah, I think they're all violas. But anyway, take those out really easily. Shear up the boxwoods just a smidge, and then I'll be able to get in the Supertunias. So I have 12 of each color, so 36 total. So there's 4 containers, so we'll have 9 in each. Typically I've put 4 of one and 4 of the other, so I've typically only had 8 in the containers. But this is just how it worked out in having three different plants. And since they have such similar growth habits, I wanted to have them all be equal. So I'm just gonna start by getting out all the violas, and then I'll shear them, and then we'll get in the plants. All right, all the boxwoods are shorn a little bit. And I really wish I would have had the forethought to use this for each of the shrubs, because that made the cleanup a lot easier. Here is I don't know if you can see on here, these are the pruners that I'm using, and I really like them because they are super sharp and a long neck, so that it makes cutting kind of consistently a little bit easier. But yeah, putting a box, just even a plant box or something underneath them. In the past, I thought I was getting really smart, and I used empty bags of potting soil, and I would, slice them open and kind of wrap them around the tree or the shrub, and I thought I was being really smart about that. But then I'd inevitably pull it out, and things would spill. Well, this was way easier. I made kind of a mess on the other 3, but it's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of rough up the soil. I'm going to mix in some biotone and some of the slow release fertilizer. And then I'm going to place the plants around, make sure I get just the spacing right in one of them, and then I'll just get the rest of them planted up. All right, well, I just got these all planted up with the Supertunias, got them watered in, and I think they're going to be really, really happy to have that water and to have more soil around their root bases because they were very dry. Well, some of them more than others. Like this one, I don't know, I must have been missing it in my watering somehow, but they'll be fine. They'll bounce back even by tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be a lot happier, but yeah, you can see what a difference it is between the habit of the Bordeaux and the MiniVista there. So it'll be interesting to see how those play together. But I basically just did a Plumveined and then a white and then a Bordeaux and rotated it all the way around. So you can see that they got, the boxwoods got a little bit shorn. So I could still take off some more, but I think that they look just fine as they are. And then I also was short for some reason. I miscounted, I guess, because I was short a Plumveined and I had an extra white. So this one's a little bit different, but that's okay. I don't think you'll see it much from the front, but this one especially was having a hard time being watered. It was just kind of pooling out right here and going down. So yeah, I'll just have to resaturate the soil so it soaks up the water more easily and doesn't just spit it back out. So that's going to do it for me for today for this planting project. It's always something that I look forward to doing each year and picking out what I'm going to be putting in these because they are just kind of a focal point out of our back door and as we sit here on the patio during the summer months. And I'm excited to see how this blend comes together both here and in the baskets on the front porch. So if you didn't watch that video, you can check that one out and see how those baskets came together. And yeah, we have just a few more annual container projects coming up, and then we'll be pretty much, I think done putting in annuals. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me while I did this project, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.